Right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'll officially kick it off. Cool. All right. Welcome to Maddox Digital and Customer Success Summit. You're currently watching Building a Digital First Customer Success Organization. And I'm really excited to announce our speaker. And as I introduce them, I'm going to have them answer our icebreaker question. What is your biggest digital addiction? So this is Aaron Hatton, Digital Success Customer Program Manager at PVcase. And I guess, yeah, would you like to kick it off with the fun little icebreaker about your biggest digital addiction?
Sure. It's a bit of an embarrassing one, to be honest with you, Jack. I have recently fallen in love with APIs. It's a love-hate relationship. I love them. They hate me, the amount of errors I get. But I feel like every part of my life right now, I'm like, man, if I could automate this with an API, I would love it. That would be my goal. Unfortunately, it does not work on kids. I've tried. Doesn't work.
Yeah, your kids don't want the to take the pull requests and the get requests. They're not going to return useful responses, huh?
No, I've tried patching a diaper or two. It doesn't quite work. No, I'm afraid not.
Just interact with your kids with Postman. Well, I have to say that is the all the answers have been great, but that's been the most interesting one that I've gotten so far. A lot of people are into the social media ones. I think I like the API question better. Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
want to admit my TikTok addiction. That's the real thing.
Good stuff. Yes, and true. APIs are getting easy to use, so maybe. All right. Cool. Well, with that, definitely want to get into it because I know you've got a lot of interesting stuff to cover. So I will pass it off to you to jump right into your talk.
All right, thank you very much. Let me share my screen and bring it up. And I like doing this thing where I'm in the presentation itself. So I'll try not to cover too much of the content in terms of like my head being in the way, uh, but I can always change it if it's a problem. Cool. Well, thanks for everyone for joining. This is my session. We're talking about building a digital customer success organization, uh, and we'll just jump straight in. So in terms of the introductions here, so the first step, we're going to go for introductions, a little bit about me, why I am the person answering and giving this presentation. I know it's a question you've probably seen a million times today, at least. It's what is digital customer success? Everyone has a slightly different answer to that, so I'm going to quickly cover that. Some of the session goals, and then some of the next steps. I don't want this to be a one and done session. I think this is something which needs to be ongoing, and I want to get you thinking and those creative juices flowing following this session as well. All right, so a little bit about me. So as Jack mentioned, I'm a digital CS program manager for PVcase. I've been doing scalable customer success strategies and solutions now for around 8 years. I have a background in IT support, engineering, systems architecture, and obviously customer success. So that helped me come to these problems with a automation first mindset and thinking about how we can avoid things like technical debts and bad data and improve the quality of our lives. I am a husband and father of two kids, as I alluded to a minute ago, and also I have a puppy as well. You probably tell by the accent, I'm British originally, but I'm also living here in New York, and I'm now a US citizen, which I'm very proud of. Two things I also love calling out. I don't get any royalties from it, but I love to call out. A lot of my work has been featured in Gainsight's digital customer success book. I'm very proud of that. And I also contributed a whole chapter towards their customer communities book. If anyone's ever been on a Zoom call with me, you know the book's normally here in my background. So if you are interested in looking at those books after today, I'm not endorsing them in any way, but like they are available and I've contributed to both. All right. So what is digital customer success? As I said, you probably know what it is by now, but what I'm going to do is give you my definition of it and kind of how it applies, right? So a digital customer success model is fueled by automation, customization, engagement, and helping teams to facilitate that better customer experience at scale. And so this robot here is actually the perfect example. When I was trying to build this deck, this robot was the perfect example. The ability to provide a personalized experience to all of your customers in a way which is engaging and customized to them and makes them feel good, right? There's little moments of joy you want to provide as customer. If you had this robot come up to me in a Starbucks and provide me with my cup of coffee order, I'd be happy. But I also know it's delivered to 20 people before me and maybe 20 people after me. right? And that's okay. I'm accepting of the fact of that experience. So it's just trying to provide that solution at scale is a big thing. And with a cute face on it as well, makes it even better. So as part of today's sessions and goals, we're really trying to get an understanding or help you get an understanding of what it means and what it takes to run a digital first customer success org, some of the nuances which come with that, some of the challenges you may have to overcome as well. And I want to give you not just like the hypothesis and the theory behind it. I want to give you something practical, real world examples of things which you can do after today's session so you can get started, start aligning with your team, and start proving and delivering some of these quick wins as well.
Would you mind, is it possible for you to move your camera to the side so that you're not covering the
Sure.
text?
I did see that. Yep. Sorry about that.
No, no, all good.
Is
Thank
that
you.
better? All right.
It looks like it to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it, Jan. All right. So in terms of the next steps, the goal is, as I mentioned, to give you the actual actionable advice, make it not feel so overwhelming as it may be for this kid climbing this set of stairs, and for you to walk away with not just answers, but also some questions for self-reflection as well. All right. So the reason you're attending today's session, it could be a number of different ones, but it's likely to be one of these four. It could be that you have had some headcount reduction in your team and now you've been tasked with doing more with less. Or perhaps you've got so many customers coming in and now you just don't have enough resources to be able to support them. That's a really nice issue to have. No one's complaining about that, but it is also an issue, right? So how we can overcome that. It could be your customers' expectations have changed. What we've seen in a post-COVID world is that customers want more self-service options. I don't want to talk to a cashier as I go to buy something in a store anymore. I want to do it myself because I'm quicker. I don't have to deal with that social interaction, the awkwardness it may present, and I can just get it done myself on the phone, music in, whatever, right? And so that self-service is something which we've seen more and more in the B2B space. They don't want to talk to someone to upgrade their plan. It's an inconvenience. If we can reduce that friction from them and they can self-serve that expansion upsell, it's fantastic. It's great for them. Or it could be just this is a trend and you want to jump on board, or you're already doing it and you're looking to improve, right? So any one of these reasons could be why you're thinking of making your organization more digital first. Because what we've seen in the market, especially in the B2C space, is it's no longer just something which is trendy to do. It's now a necessity. We all need to deliver and we need to provide our customers with a scalable solution without sacrificing that quality. Digital customer success needs to be an enabler. Okay, it shouldn't ever feel as though like AI, right? Like, well, it's going to come take my jobs. Aaron's going to take my job. It shouldn't be that. That's the number one first impression I get when I introduce my role, especially to customer success teams. You get an eyebrow raise, and you can see it. They go, "Is this guy trying to replace me right now? Is he trying to automate my job? Is him and ChatGPT, they're gunning for me?" That's not the case. What we're trying to do is to help them be more strategic, get rid of some of those things which are taking up a lot of time and the repetitive tasks they're doing day in, day out. Instead, we're trying to help them be better customer success managers, help provide a better experience to our customers, more time focused on the technical issues and the technical account management. And then once you overcome that initial like friction point of that first impression, it's the hesitation. Is this going to be another thing where we set it up and then we forget about it? Is this just a one-time thing? How will we avoid it being impersonal, robotic, right? Digital customer success, if done right with personalization, with automation, and getting the customer communication at the right time in the journey, will actually help avoid this. It shouldn't be something which is impersonal or robotic. It should be something which is right in time, the right place, for the right person. The big challenge to really start off with building that digital first org, though, is getting that company-wide buy-in. A true digital customer success team should be working cross-functionally. In fact, this week alone, and I've had one day off in the middle, it was my son's birthday, right? So yesterday I was off, but this week alone, I've met with finance, legal, marketing, support, sales, customer success, product, engineering. We really need to work cross-functionally to make sure that everybody's involved. They know they're aware of what's going on, and they have a platform to be able to ask questions. They have a platform to be able to express concerns and doubts, but also help us. The more people we can get involved across the company, it helps us. And there are going to be critics throughout this process, right? As we're starting to be strategic about it and sharing the messaging, there is going to be a few critics, and that's okay. What we need to do is we need to befriend them, reassure them that, hey, great feedback, thank you. We're going to take it on board. We understand your concerns there. And then we're going to work towards proving them wrong, right? We got to try to deliver something. And the best thing to do that is by tackling this low-hanging fruit. It's the quickest way to get that company-wide buy-in. Whenever I talk to anyone who's about to change jobs and they get asked for advice and going into a new DCS role, I say, focus on those quick wins, right? Make sure it's aligned with the company objectives and goals. So if your company's focusing right now on increasing the net retention rate, their expansions number, maybe the NPS score, or just the adoption of a particular feature, understand what that goal is, and then focus on, okay, what can you do to deliver an impact quickly, right? Maybe it's sending an in-app messaging about, hey, I see you're using this feature. Would you be interested in buying this feature instead or as well? Maybe it's, hey, we noticed you haven't used this feature yet. Are you interested? So really trying to make sure that you're making that big impact and you're measuring it to prove success, and then sharing that with the rest of the organization will start to get people thinking, this Aaron guy, he doesn't just talk. He knows his stuff. He's delivering. This is fantastic. I wonder if he can help me with this. And that sentence there, that's what you want. When you have people coming to you and saying, hey, can you help me with this? That's what you want for us to prove that we are actually having that company-wide buy-in. Everyone's starting to think digital. Everyone's starting to question, like, maybe we can automate this. But resourcing can be a big challenge too, right? Trying to get the right people to join and trying to be involved. Maybe you've got a head count associated to digital customer success. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have the luxury of having a program manager specific to it, right? And you need to find a way of delivering with what you've got, kind of duct taping things together. Even if you have volunteers or you create a tiger team, it's important to make sure you bring in these voices from all across the business, as I mentioned, right? You don't see finance or legal on here, but they are also going to be involved. Sales and marketing, because they come with that experience of talking to customers. A BDR, SDR, as they're cold calling customers day in, day out, or prospects, sorry, I should say, day in, day out. That experience of doing a one-to-many could be useful, right? Customer success and support teams know our customers better than anyone. They can tell you, hey, this messaging isn't going to fly. I recommend you change it because of X, Y, Z. Or this is going to cause a problem. I've done that myself in the past. Here's what I would do to avoid it. Having someone from operations or CS ops, rev ops, whatever you want to call it, IT or product involved could also help with that system experience, the technical competency which you need to be able to truly deliver. And in that project management experience, if you have someone involved who is able to run it as a project, each thing which you're trying to deliver should be treated as its own project. That's why you have program managers like myself. It allows you to have that stakeholder management, but also work towards the deadline, the goals which you've promised and you've committed to delivering upon. Now, in terms of where to start, it can be difficult. It can feel a little bit overwhelming, right? The easiest thing to do is by starting off with the things which are painful, the known friction points for customers and internal teams. And you may just work to solve some of the internal team solutions at first. Maybe you're finding that your teams are complaining and they're spending too much time chasing customers for payments or whatever it is. If we can do something to avoid that, that'd be great. Maybe there's onboarding questions which are repetitive, coming up time and time again. If we can answer those questions as we go through, that would be a huge win. And being able to deliver that in the week 1 email, week 2 email, or in-app would be great. Focus on the things which are low risk as well, right? So things which aren't going to disrupt those high value relationships or those critical workflows, but instead things which are useful to the customer and provide them with a better experience in general. These could be automatic reminders to say, hey, don't forget you're coming up to your usage limit. It could be educational content which is available, just making sure they have They're aware where to go to the community, where your knowledge center lives, how to contact support, and providing those in-app tips for parts of the product which perhaps that they fall over a little bit. Yes, product team's going to redesign it in a few months, but if we can provide a solution now immediately, that's going to help massively, right? Even if it's just a tooltip to say, hey, this is how this actually works. That can help produce great results very quickly. Scalable solutions is another one, right? Thinking of things which apply to many customers. It isn't always just about your tail end customers, the ones who are spending the least amount of money. Some of these things also apply upmarket. I often talk about it like a volume dial, right, on a speaker, if you will. You may turn it up a lot for those smaller customers, but you're going to turn it down, but still have it playing, the music playing in the background for those high touch customers. And what I mean by that is if you think of an example like customer support tickets, for our low touch customers, the ones who aren't spending very much money, are mostly digital, automated, we're going to say to them like, hey, we're going to send them an email and say, hey, you're looking at an above average support tickets right now. Do you want to join office hours? Do you want to join an upcoming session or book some time with your customer success manager? Whereas your high touch customers, I'm actually going to say to them, hey, you're an enterprise customer. You spend over hundreds of millions of dollars a year with us. What we want to do instead is I want to get the customer success manager to reach out to them. So it's how that positions internally. Maybe you message the customer or you're messaging your team to say, hey, there's a red flag here. You need to get involved and start interfering or intervening, I should say. So lifecycle emails, that self-service help and the usage nudges are big parts of this, of ways to be able to deliver, right? Those onboarding emails, week 1, week 2, week 3. Hey, you've completed this milestone. Awesome. Let's celebrate that. Here's what you need to do next. But making sure that all of the things which you're delivering upon are trackable is very important, right? Whether you're doing the NPS and CSAT surveys before and after, or whether you're just tracking the trend and usage over time. Maybe you're trying to see if they open the email, are they more likely to start using this feature? If they interact with the in-app engagement, are they more likely? If they get that gift in the mail, which you celebrated their win, are they more likely to renew? So asking these questions and coming up with these hypotheses is a really useful way to be able to start getting started and making sure you're thinking about those metrics, those SMART goals, if you will, as you're building these programs and delivering. But just remember that perfection just doesn't exist. As you're building your team and you're starting on your strategy and you're starting to think about how we can be digital first, you need to focus on what you have today. You may only have a small chunk of good data. A lot of it could be questionable, bad, or just things you want which are missing. Focus on the data which you have available to you today. Focus on the things which are quick wins. And in parallel, you can be working with the product team and the data team and engineering or even support or success to get the other data backfilled and fixed and hopefully make all the data good data, but you're never going to get to perfect. There's always going to be something missing. There's always going to be something which is questionable. Okay. The goal is to get as much of the data good as possible and using what you have available to you today to get started. Try to come up with this 80-20 rule or apply the 80-20 rule, I should say. When you're trying to come up with a solution for the team on your projects and what you're delivering, you got to think and ask yourself, hey, am I solving the problem right now for 100% of the people, 80% or 20%? As long as it ticks at least 80% of people, that's good enough, right? We need to just get something out the door. Let's give it a go. And we're going to fail. It's natural. It's perfectly normal to fail, but we need to get something out and let's see if it works. There's always going to be those edge cases. But if you don't fail, you're not going to learn, right? The true test when you fail isn't just like how badly you fail, it's how you overcome it and how you learn from it. So come up with these theories, these hypotheses of like, hey, I really think that customers who complete onboarding are 20% more likely to do this. Or a customer who meets us at an event is 50% more likely to upsell and expand or renew. Once you've got this hypothesis, this idea, this theory, it's how can we validate that with A, data, but B, what can we deliver from a digital customer success perspective to be able to start getting involved and getting the customer to realizing the value and for you to be able to get those results which you need to deliver to your team and your company and your organization so you can share about the successes you've had. And as I mentioned, embracing failure is going to be very important for you, right? You're going to think of a hypothesis. You're going to create a strategy, a plan. I'm going to reach out to our customers with this email. It's going to look great. They're going to do it. It's going to increase adoption. And I'm going to test it. And it's going to fail. That's okay. What went wrong? Well, they only clicked the links in the first third of the email. Okay, so they're not reading below the fold. Let's make sure that what we want them to know is above the fold. The fold being like where the page cuts off in your screen on your web browser, right? So how can we move the links around? How do we make sure maybe remove some text and add more pictures and make it more presentable so they're more willing to scroll further down? Maybe we move something so it's halfway through and cut off, right? Think of it like a cliffhanger, if you will, in an email. Try to work out what that looks like and where you can place that. And then as you're doing that, you're going to improve it. So you're going to go back and forth. You're going to maybe fail with some things, improve it. You're going to succeed with some things, improve it, and then testing over and over again. I sometimes send emails which are plain text to customers to get started, to get something out the door. New customer welcome email. Hey, plain text from the VP of CS. Hey, thanks for signing up. I really appreciate it. You're awesome. Great. Thank you. Next version, here's some links to our community, our knowledge center. Next version, let's make it pretty, make it look more system generated, right? And we're changing and adapting and we're realizing what's working well and what's not working so well. And so you need to have this fail forwards methodology and the mindset where you're just going to keep trying and trying and trying. So I want to give you some examples of some things which would be perhaps relatable, some things which challenges you may have had, and to give you some results associated to these. So one of the challenge statements we had was that we didn't know who our customers are. And our customer success teams, there's no reflection on them in the slightest way. It's just we didn't know who they were. People were changing roles, and 6 months later, we come to do renewal, and oh, that person we spoke to has left. Oh, okay. You got a large book of business, and you tend to deal with those who are louder sometimes. So it's how can we make sure our contact hygiene records are up to date as much as possible, and that we know what they're interested in. We know what information they want the most, and then we know what they can benefit from as well. Well, this is a great way. This in-app pop-up came up. It's one of the things which we delivered to be able to answer this solution for us. We asked our customers in-app, tell me about yourself. What do you use the tool for? What is your role? What is your goal? What are you hoping to achieve by using our software today? And what we found was that 75% of customers completed this within 24 hours when it was optional. We had so much hesitation with this. One of our biggest hesitations was that customers are going to push back. What do you mean you don't know who I am? What do you mean you don't know, anything about my account and how I use it? What we found in a post-COVID world is that we're just used to this now. You open up a new subscription to Netflix or Spotify or even just dog food. It's going to ask you, hey, tell me a little bit about you. What food your dog interested in? What TV shows are your favorites? What genre of music do you like? Do you like Kendrick Lamar? Right? And so once you get the answers to those questions, the next step is expectations of personalization, right? It's actually kind of funny because we were really worried about friction with this. And the one question I got from a customer, one out of like 50,000 people who completed this, one question was, hey, does this mean I'm going to lose some functionality to the platform if I choose the wrong answer? And at first I was like, no, that's a silly question. But then if you think about the question itself, they're expecting the personalization as a result. They're expecting the system to adapt around them. Now we have that data, right? So it's actually a fantastic thing. The users are expecting for us to deliver that personalized experience. They're expecting for us to provide things in a different order because they're a salesperson versus customer success versus design or support. Another example here is time to value realization was just taking too long. Customers weren't getting that value they needed out of the product quick enough. And our customer success teams were saying, hey, onboarding, I don't know what's going on there. We keep answering the same questions. They're telling us they're doing the content, but the customers, they're just not digesting it, right? And it's causing some friction between the two teams. CS are getting frustrated with professional services, vice versa. What we started to do is now we have that data available. We know who the customer is, what they're interested in. We started to provide personalized onboarding in layman's terms. our products can be quite technical, right? Even if your product isn't, sometimes just the wording you use may not be quite what everyone else uses. So providing the wording in layman terminology is incredibly useful. Providing the materials which are relevant to them in their role. Hey, we know your sales. This is what you need to care about. You need to care about how I can close deals, how you can communicate and engage with customers quickly, and how to know when something's going wrong with a deal, right? So let's not tell them the rest of it. I know the system could do 100 other things, but let's tell them what they need and what's relevant to them. And what we found is like by customers coming through this experience, this personalized experience, their onboarding resulted in a 20% increase in daily active users. So after having seen this, those users are 20% more likely to sign in every single day, right? And we've reduced the total time to value by as much as 30%. So how this applies to your CS org is we're working across different teams, right? We're cross-functional. We're understanding the problem statement. This is the company goal. We need to reduce the time to value. And we're delivering upon that cross-functionally, strategically, aligned with the company goals. And we deliver this result, a 20% increase in daily active users. Our infrastructure team sent me a message to be like, thanks for that. I appreciate it. We had to up all our Amazon resources. What a nice problem to have. Customers are now more likely to renew because they're using the product. They're realizing the value of it. It's awesome. And there's a few different ways which you can measure successes, whether it's the leading or lagging indicators. Now, you can measure success on the customer success, the DCS team, the digital customer success team, and things like that would be based on some of these leading and lagging indicators. But you can also measure based on project delivery, right? So you could say, hey, we want you to reduce the time to value by 30%, and we need you to deliver on free email campaigns, which will help towards that. But again, think of the smart goals, the sustainable, the measurable, right? Forgive me, I got that wrong. But the measurable goals, right? If we're thinking about the measurable goals, it's okay, how do we make it so we can create this goal and this objective for the team, for our project, for our program, for our hypothesis, which we can measure against to prove success, right? So it could be traditional email metrics in a leading indicator where you're thinking of open rates and click-through rates, right? Getting a 50% click-through rate on an email is amazing, but getting to that point is really difficult. So trying to make sure you're measuring against things like that. And then the lagging indicators, things which take time to really start seeing, right? The user adoption rates take time to see. The NPS scores and surveys takes time for people to fill these in. But once you have that indicator, it also helps reassure and reaffirm what you're doing was successful or not successful. And anything which you're building and designing needs to have that in mind. And most importantly, you need to celebrate your wins. You need to be your own biggest cheerleader in your digital customer success team, in your organization. All right. It's very easy for things to just kind of like, oh yeah, we got this new process. Oh yeah, the system now automates that. You need to be the biggest cheerleader, whether you have a dedicated resource or it's a tiger team or some people volunteering or being voluntold to do this. It's important whenever you deliver on a project, and it's something which I really strive to do, is to tag everyone involved. Because then that finance guy, despite him only being involved for like 20-minute conversation, he's now like, yeah, great. I helped contribute towards this goal. That's awesome. My CEO, my VP, my C-level executive also saw that message and saw that I was part of that delivery, right? So when Patrick is celebrating his having saved 10 hours every week following the launch of something DCS related, let's celebrate that. Let's call that number out. Let's share with the team. Let's share with Patrick's manager and be like, hey, Patrick's manager, isn't this awesome? Patrick's doing a great job here. When Peter starts to see ROI decrease within 2 weeks from self-service onboarding, that's amazing. Let's talk about that. And when Sarah no longer has to update those contact record hygienes, come on. That's such amazing things. And it's too often we forget to actually celebrate the wins. We need to take a step back. So even if things have failed, let's look for some of the wins which we can share with the team. And we share the lessons learned too. We say, hey, we released this project. Some things worked well. Some things maybe didn't work so well. And that's okay. But making sure we tag the team which were involved and fantastic delivery. Well, we did learn this. It was a great delivery anyway, and we really knocked it out of the park in record time, right? So then the next time, the team are more willing to get involved. And again, other departments, they're seeing the wins you're making, and they're going to start coming to you and they're going to start saying, hey, can you help us with this? Right? Hey, I'm from product. I'm looking to do some user studies and want to send gift cards to people. Can you help me with automating that? That's how you're going to drive that stakeholder buy-in. That's how you're going to get the organization on board with your digital first customer success strategy. So as I'm coming to the end of my presentation here, the question which I want for you to think about as you leave today's session is, what do you need to do to get started in the next 30 days? Maybe you've got the resources. Maybe you've got the company buy-in already. People are like, yeah, okay, let's give it a go. What do you need to do next? Is it you need to start delivering on something? Or perhaps it's the opposite. Maybe you need to go and start presenting this idea to your boss and say, hey, we really need to do this DCS thing. How do we tackle it? Well, there's a number of things in the slide which should help guide you towards that. All right, that's it for my presentation. Now, I'm sure there's probably a whole bunch of questions in the chat. I haven't seen it. I've been seeing things flicker on my left screen here, but thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to the presentation. I've got my LinkedIn profile there as well, just before I forget to call it out. I want to put in there if you want to connect and ask questions, or perhaps do a one-to-one chat about your challenges, just things you're struggling with as well. I'm always happy to jump on a call and have a quick chat about it.
Well, thanks so much for that excellent talk. As you said, moving on to Q&A, feel free to drop any more questions in the chat directly, or there's a little Q&A widget in Zoom. Let me take a look. Uh, I have one here, which is, have you seen a specific impact that you can kind of quantify in terms of the impact of personalizing versus not personalizing?
Yeah, funny enough, personalization is one of my like favorite things to talk about. I'm a big believer that I'll turn my stop screen sharing here so you can see me a little bit. Personalizing, if you do emails which are personalized versus non-personalized, I did an A/B test on this actually, and what I saw was a 300% increase in open rates and a 600, I think it's 600 or 800% increase in webinar registration just by personalizing the message, by saying, hey, we know you're in this role. This is how it's going to benefit you in particular. The content's the same, whether you're in sales or marketing, right? This one presentation, we're not doing four of them, but by positioning it differently based on like, hey, this is relevant to sales in this perspective. This is relevant to marketing in these ways. It really helps drive that adoption and then get people to register for webinars, attend events, click those links, open the emails. 300% increase in open rates, huge. So being able to share that as well is really useful.
No, that's inspiring. Um, cool. Let's see. We've got another one here. When you get to know your customer to better understand their persona digitally, what are other ways you suggest doing this versus an in-app questionnaire?
Yeah, great question. So in-app's the easiest win, right? Because then it's no longer like Aaron asking me, it's the system asking me. But I have also seen this delivered via email as well. So if we're delivering, asking in-app, some products don't lean well to needing to be signed in every day. That's just a reality, right? It's like a sell it and forget it type thing, and you sign in when there's a problem, and that's okay. In that instance, an email is also great. You just make it seem like, hey, we're doing some spring cleaning. We're cleaning up our contacts. Here's the list of contacts we have for your organization. Are they still there? Is this still right? And you can ask them via email as well, is another way to be able to deliver that content. A third final way is we are actually working on right now enriching our data from different data sources. So when people are signing up to webinars, when people are attending events, we're making note of those dates specifically. When we're doing badge scans at conferences, we're making note of those dates specifically. And then what we're doing is based on that, where I can say, hey, this is likely to be someone engaged with the account, someone who is relevant to us to be talking to, and we mark them accordingly in the system so we know. And if that slowly fizzles out, then I can unmark that. If we haven't seen or heard from them in months, I can just unmark that as like they're not actively engaged with us right now.
Awesome. Let's see. Another one we've got is so in larger orgs, customer education, marketing emails, customer success, in-app and support doc creators can be heavily segmented. How could an org go about aligning these functions and sharing information?
Yeah, I've been in one of those organizations where we have a customer documentation team, we've got a support team. It's definitely more challenging in the larger organization than it is the smaller one. But the best thing for you to do is just to start asking around and be like, hey, who's in charge of docs? Let's have a meeting. Let's have a coffee intro, right? Just everyone's going to do a quick introduction with you. It should be for the most part. So let's get them on a call. Let's make an introduction. Explain how you're going to help them, right? Prove to them that you're not just that guy who's going to talk about it, but also someone who's going to help deliver. If there's anything quick wins which you can ask them about, take off their plate, that's going to be really useful to you. And then starting to develop and build that relationship over time, it's going to take time. It's harder in those large organizations because of the complexity, because of the so many people involved. But as you're building those relationships, and again, you're being your biggest cheerleader internally, those people you've met and maybe you haven't spoken to in a few months, you just did that initial intro, are going to come to you and say, hey, I remember we spoke about this a while ago. Let's start talking about it a bit more. Would love to get you involved or your opinion for this other thing.
All right, let's see. When you're talking about personalizing again, how do you think about who the message should come from?
That's a great question on its own. It really varies depending on the messaging which you're having, right? Some system messages could be beneficial and some human messages can be beneficial. I know a lot of people feel as though emails from a human are more likely to be opened, but it's not always the case. It's really strange. What I find is by sending product update emails from a person like product marketing manager is a great way to be able to start getting people to open those emails. Fantastic. But when we're talking about like trying to sell them something, sometimes the system positioning the email is better. There's an in-app engagement program I ran a few years ago where we wanted people like that. It was consumption-based licensing, and they were about to go over the consumption, right? So they're about to run out of licenses. They need to buy more. When a human was talking to them, we weren't really converting. We were having a lot of problems. We're chasing them down. It's a big issue. When the system told them, hey, you need to upgrade, they were 70% more likely to upsell. And we literally increased revenue of the company by millions of dollars a year in 30 days, just by making sure we position it from a system as opposed to a human, right? So it's just about trying to think about, okay, if I was receiving this email, do I want it to come from Aaron or do I want it to come from the system? And which one am I more likely to listen to and action upon? I love those emails I get every week from Grammarly. I don't know if anyone has Grammarly, those emails about how my writing score is doing. I always make a point to open those emails, but I don't want it to come from a person that feels kind of like Big Brother. They're spying on me. It coming, or even Matic, right? But like, it's a great example of you want to, in some instances, to have the system sell something as opposed to a human.
Interesting. And that definitely resonates in terms of like I definitely would feel less likely to reply if I see that it's like the salesperson who's looking at me in that instance. So, and yes, Grammarly emails are truly a work of art. Seems like we got a lot of love here for Grammarly. Cool. Um, Alrighty. I think we made it through all of the questions. Thank you so much. So I think that concludes it. We'll give the recording of this session next week when it's available in our resource hub. We'll notify all the summit attendees when that's live. And thank you again, Aaron, for the wonderful talk and for the wonderful content and the Q&A. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks so much.